What's up, everyone? Monster Master Godzilla here, and I'm back continuing the Star Wars-A-Thon. We're now up to Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, this one is continuing the story of the Phantom Menace. And now, Anakin is now, and now that Padme is now like a senator, is now a senator in Coruscant. And Anakin is now like has been through training. He has been through years of training. And this time is still a teenager, like at age 19 years old. And this time he's a Padawan. And basically a Padawan's like mid-class between a youngling and a Jedi. I mean, he's almost on the verge of becoming a Jedi. And there was some conflict going on that the Separatists were still going in war against all the government. And they were still having battle droids. And this time Jar Jar Binks was back, but this time he was given a smaller role than he did in Phantom Menace, because of the bad reception he was given in Phantom Menace, which his character was very controversial. Like, this is why he's been considered the abomination of the franchise. And also then Ewan McGregor is back playing Obi-Wan, especially since he's very lovable in the role. And Anakin this time is played by Hayden Christensen. Now, Hayden Christensen, he was given so much hate in the beginning. He was given so much hate playing Anakin through episodes 2 and 3. But he was given redemption as Darth Vader in the show Kenobi on Disney+. And the plot is that they also had, there was a villain, the Jedi Council once had a Jedi called Count Dooku, who Count Dooku was once a Jedi, a student of one of Yoda's students, and he was also Qui-Gon Jinn's master. But he ends up becoming a fallen Jedi. He became a fallen Jedi, so he became better known as Darth Tyrannus. But he is still, most people just call him Count Dooku. And so Count Dooku has, which he is the main villain. He's the main villain of this movie, as well as the main villain of the Clone Wars, which both the movie and the TV series, which I'll be talking about soon. And Count Dooku is played by none other than Christopher Lee, which you remembered he passed away, and you may have known Christopher Lee when he was Saruman the White in Lord of the Rings. He was also Willy Wonka's dad in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He was the voice of the Jabberwocky in Alice in Wonderland. And he's done many Hammer productions, such as the Dracula films. And he also played in a lot of movies with Peter Cushing, which Peter Cushing was in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So it comes in full circle. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee started in movies together, and now they're both on the Star Wars franchise. So anyway, the plot is that someone had that the two bounty hunters were sent to kill Padme, but both Obi-Wan and Anakin had stopped those bounty hunters from attacking, from killing Padme with this parasite-looking thing. And so Padme, and so then when they discovered when they found the bounty hunters, Zam Wesell, which is one of the bounty hunters, was defeated. The other bounty hunter was Jango Fett, which the father of Boba Fett. And then we get to see that Jango Fett, he's the actor playing him. He later gets to play Boba Fett as an adult. He gets to play Boba Fett in the Mandalorian, as well as the Book of Boba Fett later on in this film. But this is where before they started, where he started off, the actor playing he started playing Jango Fett, as well as voicing the clone troopers. So after the bounty hunter in Mandalorian armor, the Jango Fett had escaped. They learned about a planet that was off their radar called Kamino, which the Kamino is a whole planet full of nothing but, where it's always raining everywhere. There's always rain, and followed by rain every day. And there's no land, but a building. But there was a building. And so Obi-Wan ends up going to Kamino, and then they discovered the clone troopers that were created. They were all cloned by Jango Fett's DNA. And we introduced Boba Fett in this one. And Boba Fett was a child in this one, which this is before he grew up to become the bounty hunter, as we known in the original trilogy. And so, meanwhile, Anakin was with Padme, and they were hanging together on Naboo. They had their moments where it's romantic and all, and that's when they were falling in love. They were slowly falling in love. And there was this thing called. They also made this. They also had a reference that like normal people, Jedi can fall in love. But they had this thing called the forbidden marriage. But they end up doing it anyway. And after they spend time in Naboo, they end up going back to Tatooine. And when they arrived at Tatooine, Anakin met up with his old boss, Watto. And Watto found himself as a jobless deadbeat. And then he was looking for his mom. And his mother was married to was married to a man named Lars. And that's when Anakin and Padme end up meeting Owen Lars, which becomes Luke's uncle, and Beru was Owen's girlfriend before becoming his wife. So then then Anakin finds out that his mother was killed by the Tusken Raiders. Well, supposedly it was originally the Tusken Raiders. He accused them as being the Tusken Raiders, but supposedly in the production, there was a scene where Count Dooku actually had killed Anakin's mom, and made it look like the Tusken Raiders were responsible for killing them, and it manipulated Anakin, and causing him to go after the Tusken Raiders, killed both the men and women and the children, and that's slowly building up to where he finally snapped, slowly building up to him becoming this bad guy. And also there's this moment where Jar Jar ends up being Padme's representative for giving Palpatine the emergency powers, which I don't think Jar Jar Binks is senator worthy, especially since he's nothing but a clumsy buffoon. So then Anakin and Padme end up going to Geonosis because they saw that Obi-Wan was captured, and they battled on the droid factory, and surprise, the droid factory ends up having a new battle droid. It's called Super Battle Droids, and then after they introduced the Super Battle Droids, just when they were about to rescue Obi-Wan, they end up getting captured themselves. Oh yeah, and Anakin originally had a blue lightsaber, but his lightsaber got destroyed in the factory, and he ended up getting a green one. Just when they were about to rescue Obi-Wan, they ended up getting captured again, but this time they were put in an arena. Newt Gunray was there, which you remember him from episode 1. He was Viceroy, and Gunray's working alongside with Count Dooku. And just when just when Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme were all in the pit, we're all in the arena. They're facing monsters. Like, Padme got clawed by this tiger-looking creature with multiple eyes. And yes, Padme was wearing this white outfit. And right when she was clawed, her stomach is hanging out. And that's when they made one of those characters you want to lust for. Kind of like Leia. When she was made for someone to lust for when she's wearing the slave outfit. And also Padme was also wearing white, just like Padme did, just like Leia did. So then, just when they were about to meet their doom, the Mace Windu showed up, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and surprise, surprise, Mace Windu showed up and he had a purple lightsaber. That's right, folks. He's the only Jedi to have a purple lightsaber, and it turns out in Jedi lore, Jedi rarely carry purple lightsabers. That's why he's the only one in film to carry a purple lightsaber. And supposedly during the production, the Samuel L. Jackson wanted to stand out from other Jedi, so that's why he was given a purple lightsaber. So the other Jedi showed up, including like Shaak Ti and Luminara. They all showed up, and they all fought the battle droids and the monsters, and they all rescued Padme. They all rescued Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. And this was one of the biggest highlights in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. And then Jango Fett joins in the fight. He ends up getting killed by Mace Windu by having his head sliced off. And just when Count Dooku was about to make his escape, the Jedi crew ends up getting rescued, and they end up chasing after the Count Dooku, and with the help of the clone troopers. And just when and while Boba Fett was left behind, and he was seen with his father's helmet, and that's where it begins. Boba Fett becoming a bounty hunter. So after the chase scene, both Anakin and Obi-Wan took on Count Dooku. They fought well against Count Dooku until Obi-Wan sliced off Anakin's hand, which is the same thing that happened to Luke in the original trilogy. So just Anakin was defeated, but Obi-Wan was fought well, ended up fighting well against the Count. But it turns out then Yoda shows up, and what's awesome is the best thing about Yoda, he ends up showing his green lightsaber, which you never see in the the original trilogy. And it even brings out the Jedi, explicitly shows how well known of a Jedi he really is. And he shows off and he fought well for someone his size too. And so then Count Dooku is defeated. He escapes for now, ends up meeting up with the Emperor, who his name is actually Darth Sidious. Most people call him the Emperor, or Emperor Palpatine. They discuss that they're slowly working out just well. They're one step further to taking over the galaxy. And also before the final battle, they actually found blueprints for the Death Star. That's right, the Death Star, where they found the blueprints to building the Death Star. And so then, after that, that's where the Separatist War began. That's where the Clone Wars begins. And this is where the Clone Wars begins, where it shows the clone trooper ready to march for war. And this is before they were called Storm Troopers, and they had a different helmet, which is different from what you remember from the prequel trilogy, from the original trilogy. They had a different. When they were in their first appearance, they had a different look for what you see in the prequel in the original trilogy, and you'll see that later on when we get up to episode 3. So, and then after the whole thing was done, it ends where both Anakin and Padme now hit it off together, and they got married. At the very end, where they got married. And nobody was really there except for C-3PO and R2 were there. Oh yeah, C-3PO is now silver in this one. After he got an upgrade after what you saw him in episode 1 where his parts are showing. So that's the end of episode 2. And would I recommend it? Absolutely. I mean, it does get a lot of hate, just like what we get in the prequel trilogy does get a lot of hate, but they're entertaining as hell, and they're popcorn entertainment. But I say stop by and watch it where you can. I mean, you might love it or hate it, but at least it's entertaining. And that's all I have to say, folks, and stay tuned for more. We'll be reviewing episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and that's all I have to say, folks. And as always, stay awesome, my Monster Masters and fellow Star Wars fans. And as always, stay awesome. Bye.